All right, we are here today with Ryan, also known as Sack Nine Nine something. He's been playing Star Wars for a while and would love to get into that. But thank you, Ryan, for this discussion with us. Appreciate it.
Oh, of course.
Awesome. All right, so I kind of like to start the conversations with Star Wars CCG today. So I know you play open, played
Yep.
for a while. So how do you feel about Star Wars CCG 2025?
Well, that's a really big question because I'm also on the design team, so I'm kind of responsible for a lot of open, like with Chris Kelly and company. I think it's in a really good spot. We've been going. This is the longest sustained open has been going without a reset, revolution, redux. So it's been going for 11 years now. I think
Yeah.
the reset was in 2014.
Yes,
So
sir.
we're going to be releasing set 25, which is the most. I think we have good policies and procedures now to like fix meta problems, and we don't design as many things that aren't interactive. This OCS month I played all TRM. It still works. It's not, the game is actually, I think, the retro Premiere to Death Star 2, I think, is actually harder than Open is because there's so many, you need specific counters to specific things in the Decipher era where everything is shielded in
Hmm.
Open.
Yes.
Like the TRM I'm playing three senses to, and that's pretty much the whole, the only, and Unitov for if anybody plays ROPS. And that's like the counters. Everything else is just good stuff. Whereas the retro format is way more specific. Like I need this card for this deck and this card for this deck. And open it is not like that for me. It's yeah, I think it's actually simpler. And it's also you don't interact as many times with one card is named by another card sometimes, but not nearly as much as in older decipher formats. Also, things that target particular characters were very prevalent in the decipher days, and now with, gosh, 11 movies and shows, there's just like way too many like almost most of my light side decks are all one ofs of every character
Yeah.
because you have so many Star Wars personas now. It's very different when it was just, as opposed to when it was Vader and Tarkin versus Luke and Obi-Wan.
No,
Like
absolutely, I
it's
agree.
very
And
different.
yeah, no, it is. And they had a lot, you had a lot more antis, but Uncontrollable Fury was, a decent card. It was a hard counter in some ways. And I guess nowadays that would not be a great choice, because
Yeah, unless you really absolutely knew what your opponent was playing, if unless they're playing a Vader Center deck, like I mean, even these days, you can play something that targets rebels or Imperials and just whiff. Like there's like your opponent's playing none of them. They're playing all, episode one cards, or whatever. So yeah, it's just it's a lot more generic and open now, I think.
yeah. And no, and kind of like I kind of mentioned it before the call is like I did play some of your open deck. I think quarterfinals with one of them, and your Agents of the Cortex Mandalorians. I really that was fun, and it is cool to see my favorite card game, Star Wars CCG, use mechanics that never were done before. And even as a kid way back then, you always imagine, well, what if I could use this deck with these new characters? That's kind of what's been enabled.
Yeah.
I think I like that. um and I guess, conversely, the only disadvantage, of course, you have so many options. And is that what you mean by it's simpler? Because there's so many options, it's hard to run counters. Therefore, you can use more of your favorite pet characters, decks, movie people, etc.
It's less likely you're going to win and lose in the deck building phase as opposed to playing the game, because there's a lot of you feel in older format, you're like, oh well, you flip over the cards and you just, you already know who's going to win or lose. There's a lot less 90-10 matchups. I mean, they still, like, you can really tweak your, all those cards, decipher cards still exist, so you can really weak your deck to. I'm going to really hate on Court, or I'm going to really hate on Hunt Down or whatever, and then they're playing something else, and then you're just sad. So most people, and especially in an open 8 tournament or a game Swiss tournament, don't do that because you don't. Yeah, and also because there are so many viable decks, you can't just, I'm going to go all space, I'm going to go all, it doesn't work as well, like to play a deck that's very slanted one way doesn't work as well. I mean, I mean, think at every tournament there, and then even the OCS, there's usually like 20 different decks played if there's 40 people. There's just there, it's very varied. Whereas like this Death Star 2 retro format, I don't, was there a dozen?
I mean, I mean, I'd say there's a handful. I mean, for Dark Side, you can play Rops, you can play, say, of course, for Alderaan, Brangus. You can play Bring Them Before Me, and then fourth place. I mean, you could play Scum. It's not as good. I mean, you can if you
Yeah.
play another objective. As I mean, you could do a one-off. I mean, you could play a Hunt Down, and you could do a Cheese Hunt Down if you wanted to. So maybe I'd say three, four viable decks at a high level.
Yeah.
Probably. Um,
Whereas I think I'm trying to physically have every viable deck built right now, and I think I'm at like 15 to 20 for each side and open.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess the only question I'd say is how much of that is simply because the open meta is still evolving, or and how much of that is just by design per se. Like if we,
I think
you know,
it's hopefully it's by design since we're designing it. But there's like if you have big guys swinging lightsabers, that's going to work against like a majority of things. Like it's not, there's no inserts, there's no uh all the really the things that number, like all the things that you actually have to have a card that says I counter this thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you do have it. I mean, you've done things like you've taken some of these old Decipher shields and you like doubled
Yep.
the shields, right? In some cases.
Yep.
Um,
I think there's double the amount from the original count. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you double the shield, but you've actually made some shields actually just shield more. Like a couple of you guys have just remade, and I think
Yep.
Hayes said you guys were thinking about just making a super shield at one point. I don't see a super shield yet, so I guess you guys have not universally
No,
agreed to
it's
that.
not. It's shield busting is still kind of hard because since you get 4 shield pulls, I mean, it's hard to win shield busting these days because okay, well then they don't get their 5th shield. I mean, Hayes did shield bust me like worlds once. But we simplified the shield since then. And there's so many like shields that cancel like 5, 10, 6 things, and it's hard to like win the game off the like, oh, they don't have a shield puller on the 5th thing because your deck is just all over the place.
Right, right, and
Even like a scanning crew in a revolution doesn't even win you the game. Like you could play scanning crew on a deck with no rebel against a deck with no rebels, so it's like that doesn't.
so
Yeah.
okay, so when you are playing shield busting, what are you doing? Like using like sand whirl or like what's the shield busting strategy then to
No,
win?
shield. Well, the deck he used doesn't exist anymore.
Okay,
So, but mainly Watto would probably be the number one shield busting deck. Something it's got or something with pod racing, but I don't even know. Well, there's good in him was a shield
yes,
busting deck for a little
yes,
bit, but
yeah,
um, it's still, even so, like it's not it it doesn't, there is good in him is pretty unplayable since it doesn't pull locations as an objective, and it's really hard to play an objective that doesn't go first and doesn't pull locations for you.
okay. And I guess the design team was not saw fit to help. There was good in him, pull more
Well,
locations.
kind of. There is actually there's good enough helper now in that just putting Ozzel at the docking bay doesn't completely turn off your activation anymore. I mean, there is that, but it isn't like redesigned it so it pulls a bunch of things up for it. You know, uh, and also just having that is not like super good anymore. And just a Luke by himself, he can just get this tar kicked out of him by a court deck or something. You know, it's not.
Well, you could, and Imperials, you have more factions now. You have more Dark Jedi now, so there's more things that could fight Luke. Whereas in the past, it'd be hard to not capture him if you weren't not capturing like the court back then. Yes, you
Yeah.
could kill him, but it'd be harder, right? Nowadays, yes, you're right. It's
Yeah.
you might need a spare Luke or whatever if you really, really want to,
Yes. So the shield busting, I haven't seen in about a year. It's not. Yeah, I think we did a good job with simplifying the shields. Hopefully, it's simpler to play because we did reduce the amount too. We're supposed to consolidate them.
Okay. Sounds good. So, yeah, so overall, you think while you're on the design team, and how long have you been design team? What was your journey towards, getting there?
Back in 2013, I want to say they had the design contest, and after that, I think it was Shusky at the time. I got invited to be a design intern. I can't remember all who was on there, and that was pre-reset. That was like V Block 9. And then post reset, then ended up after doing that, ended up on the design team. I think doing it after the reset with Shusky and like Jared Costner and Kevin Shannon. And then I was on there, and I've been on there I took a 1 year hiatus, but I've been on there pretty much completely since 22 reset 2014. So probably 10 years worth.
Impressive, impressive. And so,
I mean,
uh,
it would be here all day to list all the cards that I did. So,
okay, well, mention one that hasn't been
well,
blanked,
all the ISB, since we're going to talk about ISB, most of the ISB agents are all mine. Lieutenant Pole, Tarkin, Agent Callus, Deidre, Partagaz.
Wait. Partagaz, you made him? I was looking for him yesterday. Where is he? Where is this?
He's a captain. Oh, he's in the Andor show?
Yeah, the Andor show. Yeah, we had the finale for that, just the other
No
day.
spoilers. I haven't started yet. So have
Okay.
kids.
All right.
So,
I looked it for him yesterday. I couldn't find him. I'll try again. But
you mean in the card list or on the
yeah, in the
show?
card list. Yeah.
Oh, if you just see was he 21? There, let me tell you. Let's see. Um let's see. I can't remember what's but anyway, if I say, let's see, just look up ISB. He is the well, there's no good cosplayers of him. Or is it major? So it's just Goddard, picture of Goddard. He was at 21.
You said 21. Okay, I got on the screen. Okay. You'll learn. You have a light side. You'll learn. It said 21, and then you didn't have a
Yeah,
cosplayer. What am I
but we
missing?
don't have a we didn't have a cosplayer that looked like the actor who played Partagaz. So we had one for Deidre, but not.
Hmm. I'm trying to find him. Yeah, you have way too many characters here. Let me do character. He's an Imperial, right?
Eh, yeah, Major Partagaz. So it's
Oh, you
to
do have Deidre.
encourage
Okay,
ISB to
awesome,
actually battle.
awesome.
Because he makes all the your ISB leaders, and also it was also came with the dark collaboration card just to encourage ISB to actually just go to battle as opposed to the old days, which I'm doing is like just avoiding all battles and canceling all damage and being annoying.
Nice. Okay, awesome, beautiful. I love that. Okay, cool. No, I just watched the finale for that. So awesome. Um. Okay, so yeah, so you love ISB. You're designing ISB. How does that like affect you playing? Because you play in the tournaments too. You're on the design
Yep.
team. Have you ever been accused of, well, you just love ISB. This is your pet deck. You do like obviously,
Well, I think jokingly, but I mean, I think being on design hurts because I playtest a lot of bad decks to see how I can make them better.
Yeah,
I've played way too much ASM, and well, I played a lot of agents in the court till I got it to the point. where it was viable in OCS. I play in testing. I don't really test for tournaments. I test bad decks for design ideas.
Okay. All right. So
I think it actually hurts me as a player.
okay. I mean, it's okay. So, I mean, is there? I mean, you're doing play testing. So, how? I mean, how much time is this taking you to quote unquote be a designer? So, someone's play testing. Help like an outsider understand like how much time this hobby is
I
taking up.
Well, it is actually post COVID. It's a lot easier because I have my laptop during boring Zoom meetings, and I can do that on the side. There's and a lot of GAMP actually makes it so much easier as far as designing and playing and looking at replays and playtesting, because as opposed to actually having to use physical cards, you can get through a playtest game in like 20 minutes. Especially
Sure.
playtesty where you're like 3 turns, you don't need any more information than that usually.
Okay.
Like we know how this is going to go.
Okay. But for you to play test this way, I mean, you're still play testing on GIMP. You're not doing like
Yep.
another online virtual tabletop. So it means you have to have someone code these for you, right? Someone else.
Yeah, or I do I don't do many cards, but we have a GitHub repo, and anybody who knows Java can contribute
And is that what
if you
you
want to
do? I
join
mean,
the
are
slicer
you
team. I have done a few about a dozen cards, but I'm not like as fast as other people. I just, between work and kids.
okay? All right. So I mean, how much time you've been here for? Nearly 10 years. You said maybe you took off, so
Yep.
maybe 9 years. You took off 1 year in between
I think
ish.
it was 11 years, so I've been at 10 years now, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how much time does it take you to design cards, semi-code, play test?
It depends on the card. Sometimes I'll propose something like the new Jasper, and it's just like, oh, that's great. We'll just do that. Sometimes a card might go through like 10 iterations before everybody is happy with it. Like Slave One Symbol Fear was just exactly the way I proposed it. It was like done in 5 minutes. Trying to think of one that has gone back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Let me look. Uncut, the guy from Force Awakens, he's still not like that playable, but he was. When did he come out? Was it set 23? I say, okay, let me look. He was proposed in set 4, and he came out in set 19.
It's a long time.
Yeah, I mean, there's sometimes, yeah, there's a lot of back and forth. So sometimes varies wildly, um, based on if everybody like, is it a simple card or a simple fix? Usually everybody's like, ah, that's cool. And if it's something complicated, then yeah, it could take like hours and hours.
So, and thank you for the explanation. So, all of these virtual sets, they like none of these are approaching like the size of like like Death Star 2 Limited or Endor Limited or any of those. Like none of these have ever been that many cards, other than maybe after the
No,
reset, we redo some things. Go ahead.
nobody wants to read that many cards. And also, we're limited to by proofing and graphics and coding for GAMP. I mean, it's hard to do in a quarter more than like 30 cards because of just there's everybody has to touch it, and then also and also everybody wants every card to be impactful because every decipher set had common chaff that nobody cares about. Like nobody, they could just print Death Star Trooper, and nobody cares. You're like we're trying not to create just commons that nobody plays. Hopefully, every card that we make has a home somewhere. If it has no home, then it was kind of a waste of time.
No, and I think that's a fair, and obviously you're not playing for money, so this idea of commons, uncommons, rares. I guess I know some people like the scavenger format, right? They like trying to build unoptimal cards. Some people like the all the Jedi format, like the drafting.
Yeah.
I guess the biggest
Yeah.
disadvantage is we'll never see any virtual cards in any kind of draft situation. We'll never see them in all the Jedi situation just by the nature of
You
design.
could, you would need a pack simulator and decide on the rarity of them. Like, there's no reason you couldn't do a draft or a seal with virtual cards. It's been proposed before, but you would just need to like assign a rarity to each one and put them in packs.
You would,
Like
but
you
you're
could do
also,
that.
yeah. But you don't. But obviously the rarity of virtual. And I guess if you assign a rarity, I guess maybe you do it. But it might not be like on a set. Like it varied, right? If you assign a common,
Yeah,
you'd have to kind of make the common worse ish, kind of. I don't know.
not really. Well, because you have lots of Vaders, but you have lots of support characters and also a lot of supporting interrupts. A lot of red cards you can make as commons, or there's like we do have uncommon like the ARC 170 or clone troopers, or you know you could or blaster rifle. Um, there's plenty of like those kind of cards you could make the commons. But yeah, I think it would just takes a lot. It'd be a lot of work to organize them into packs.
Sure. I'm just guessing
But it
out of.
would be actually better because I don't do all the Jedi form is fun for like a minute, and then you get a month, and you're like, I got a month once where it was almost going to be impossible for me for draw battle destiny for either side, and I was like, well, this was a pointless exercise.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I know some people like the sealed format. Some people still like playing like, indoor sealed or Java's Palace sealed, you know. I mean, I
The
mean, I
Death Star
mean,
2 starter decks plus a few packs is interesting because they're balanced against each other. Java's Palace Sealed, I don't understand how people do it because of Fallen Portal and Master Luke and Did You Open Scum or Not is just not that interesting to me.
okay, well, you know what? You're in the design team, so you have the opportunity to
Yeah.
make a fun sealed, again, if you
Yeah,
wanted
fun sealed. Okay.
to.
Yeah.
Possibly. So no, I mean, obviously I get it. You have limited resources and maybe sealed, wasn't at the top of the list, which is, certainly
Well,
understandable.
well, all it takes is in the back end and GIMP is take somebody to make packs. And then they'd be available for sealed. Because all the Jedi format was just like somebody's like, oh yeah, let's just make it out of this. But all they have to do is make packs out of whatever, and then you'd have a new sealed environment.
Okay. So I've heard this time and time again. Obviously, we have limited resources. Ha 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 ha. Pun pun. About comes to the GIMP
Mhm.
coding. Help outsiders understand like how much of an issue is. Is there anything we can do to increase the throughput? Can we donate? Can we do
Uh,
something? Because like there's lots of retro cards still missing. Obviously, the design team's limited by it. Still a volunteer thing.
the ones that are missing are because I know a lot of them was because Decipher was really bad with their wording, and um it has to work from a rules perspective, and they're the kind of things where if you played them live you'd probably need a judge anyway to figure it's like I think and I think the way you get them made is if somebody says this is a priority, like I really want to play this card and whatever retro format. There are two like inform I would like informant, and I would like is it combined attack for light side.
Bind attack would be very useful. It would be another way to actually hit Executor. Yes, that would be very
I don't
nice.
know if we even really need it based on my deck, but combined attack. I have played combined attack live, and I played Informant live just because it's a Destiny 6 that cancels sabotage with with the tank guns. It's the other part that's actually a problem. Yeah, so every card that is not coded is because it's a rules nightmare.
So besiege, just because no one wants to, you know,
It's Well, it's a besieged is a problem because how do you represent it visually in GIMP?
same way you have Darth Vader and Luke duel and
Yeah,
bring him before me. It's on the
I
same
guess.
side.
I guess, but yeah, and besiege is another one where yeah, that's going to be an awful lot of work, and like no one's going to do it.
I know two people that will
Yeah.
use it. Okay, I know
Oh,
two.
is it okay?
It will not
All
go
right.
to
Well, we'll
waste.
see
No,
what.
no, I get it. I mean, I can tell you for certain that frozen assets would be one that was used. Frozen assets was
Yeah.
still used in the 2009 PS2 tournament. It was used Raphael Esselin's deck. It was used with Yannick Lapointe's deck. He was the
Yeah.
runner-up in
Frozen
2000.
assets is a broken card. Yeah. Yeah. That's the reason it's shielded. But yeah, if it was in a non-shield format, it'd definitely be usable. Yeah.
It would definitely help light side in the PDS2 era for sure. I'll say that one. But there's other nice ones like Frustration for Dark Side. And there's some fun ones, like there's like that droid which summons 9 unique aliens. Like some of these you look at the cards and are like, why wasn't this coded? I'm guessing just maybe so I don't understand or wasn't there. But no, I guess my question is there anything we can do to increase capacity? So can we do GoFundMe? Is it a money issue? Anything we can do that would
No, it's
really
a
help.
well. We don't really pay coders. It's just if you find people who really know Java.
Okay.
And take the time because there are a lot of libraries and a lot of functions, and I have to write. And there's been several cards I've designed where I've had to write new functions because it's like we like to do things like this. No one's ever done this type of card, this mechanic on a card before. Oh, like Deidre, we had to program a new function in Java to do it because no other card does exactly like her.
Next ISB agent you deploy this turn is -1. Is that the new thing?
Yeah, because it's a top level action that then puts a deployment modifier that's just floating because she can do it on your opponent's turn, and then if you deploy like a reacting ISB like the Stormtrooper Patrol, then they deploy for 2. So it's a top level action that then basically leaves, if you like a magic player, leaves a -1 on the stack until it gets used.
Yeah.
That was a thing that we have never done before.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That definitely looks like a unique mechanic. So, um, are there cards that you want to design that you've never designed simply because the mechanic was too hard to code? Has that happened, or you just kind of
Well,
redesigned it the
yeah,
way
and
it is?
also we are limited by like in a character text box by 5 lines, and we're trying. And before the reset, they created all these like icons as shorthand, or how Magic uses keywords, and we're trying not to use shorthand or keywords, like leave it all spelled out like Decipher did, and not completely fill up a text box. So sometimes that is difficult, um especially when you need to, yeah, things that are wordy. Senate helpers, yeah, can get quite wordy because if when things like don't include this but not this kind of thing, then it's hard to fit on the 5 lines.
No, that makes sense. And you're right. I do remember these pre-reset cards that were hard to read for the first time. You still use like the pilot icon. I think you still use that. Pilot icon
We
is
use
good.
that because it's just like, as opposed to having to write out adds 2 to the power of anything this person pilots is, I think everybody gets that at this point. What's yeah. We use the pilot icon, and that's, but we try on when we're actually templating the card, write it out so we're not just always going to the bottom of the text box. Even immune to alter or upload and down, like deploy from reserve deck or taking a hand from reserve deck, you write it all out so that way we're trying not to fill like overfill text boxes. So reduce the amount of reading and keep it simple.
I no, I appreciate that. It's a little more elegant if you can.
Starships
Yeah.
are the worst though because they only have 4 lines, and you almost always have pilots, passengers, especially capital ships with like starfighters and vehicles. That doesn't leave you a lot of lines, so most of them end up being like vengeance, like something very simple.
I didn't. I was unaware. Um, have you ever designed a ship with a permanent weapon? Is that ever going to happen?
That is never going to happen. What is it? The Anakin's from episode 1, Bravo Fighter, is the closest that's ever going to happen. It breaks a lot of, I think there's a lot of rules problems with having a permanent weapon on a starship because of targeting problems. But that has been discussed for so many times, and it's always ends up being no, we're just not going to do this.
Okay. And so you're talking about set zero Bravo Starfighter. It says during battle may target a starship with no character piloting. Okay. All right. So it's droid specific.
That's the closest,
Yeah.
or it works on like Boba Fett in Slave One or Zuckuss in Mist Hunter
Okay.
with just like four llama board. That's the normal target with that card is like a Zuckuss and Mist Hunter with a four llama board that's not piloting. You can hit the Zuckuss and Mist Hunter. That's the closest that's ever going to come to having a permanent weapon on a starship.
Okay, and I guess you've had this discussion internally, but it breaks things just because it's too far gone with assumption, or you don't have enough text, or I mean, if you made a series of ships on both sides with weapons permanent, would that balance it out, or
Well,
like what's the issue here?
there's I can't remember, but I think with as far as like overload and there's a bunch of targeting problems then because there's so many things that target like the starship weapon card and not just like starship weapon. So yeah, and like I said, there's only four lines on a text box. It's almost impossible to fit all of that onto a starship card anyway. And so yeah, it's been discussed before, and it's always like, yeah, we're just not going to do this.
Okay, all right. What about like a vehicle with a permanent weapon? Is that the same boat, or
Yeah, it's pretty much the same because I think we all feel like between because there's a speeders deck now and a walkers deck, and they both have their power harpoons versus AT cannons, and also like, I mean, honestly, speeders could use a little help, like dodging guns because the yeah, but yeah, I don't think it needs, and it's also an efficiency problem. Decks are already super efficient compared to what they used to be. Do they need to be even that much more efficient? Like, because games do have to end.
it's nice
Yeah.
occasionally? Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. So, if we go, I guess if we go back a little time, so you said you took like a year off for designing. So have you been
Yeah.
playing 2014 as you've been designing, except for that like 1 year hiatus you said
Yeah,
consistently?
yeah. Back in like when I was switching jobs I work for UCLA. That was when I was switching that. Yeah, I've been playing. I came back to the game in 2007, 8, VSET 13. When we moved to LA, and then we started going to the locals in Burbank, and losing to Kevin Shannon a lot. Um, and that's yeah, and I played from Premiere through Hoth in high school, and then all my friends quit when Dagobah came out,
Okay.
and so I still collected, but I didn't really like understand the like meta or anything. And I went to college, and then this era I never played the Premiere to Death Star 2. I never played because I was in college and then getting married. So then but I just still collected all the cards, but I just didn't ever play competitively until 2007.
Interesting. Interesting. Um, how did you feel when the episode one started coming out? So you're collecting like the main trilogy, and all of a sudden there's a
I
new.
didn't really have a problem with episode one because also I did play some Lord of the Rings, not as much, but I used to play at the time. I was playing a ton of BattleTech, TCG, and everything. That's what my friends were playing. I didn't have a problem with episode one. Honestly, I was like one of the few. I guess one of the people I didn't care. Like it was fine.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I liked episode one personally, but I know some people like OG trilogy only, which I understand too. To each their own.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It didn't bother me. I was just more happy to just continue to have Star Wars. So
Okay. And so, as a collector, uh, what was it like whenever the Star Wars license was go for? I know you said you're in college. Did that affect you? Like, oh
yeah.
gosh, why am I buying this? Or okay.
No, because I have an entire first run, print run of Marvel comics behind me. Like I just, it didn't. It was more sad that Decipher lost the license, and I wish at the time I wasn't completely broke, and so I could have bought I remember when Coruscant boxes were going for like $50. And if I had just could have bought up a bunch of that, and I remember buying like a bunch of box of Death Star 2 for super cheap. But yeah, it would, but I didn't have enough money back then.
I understand. No, hindsight's 2022 as well. Okay, so you got back into 2007. So you said you played like BattleTech. Any other
Yeah.
card games you played of note?
Well, and Magic, see, I played Magic first, and I stopped playing at Alliances because then all the money went to Star Wars CCG. Um, yeah, and then after I have, because my son played a ton of Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and lost a lot at that, but
Uh-huh.
luckily he's out of that now, and now he's in Star Wars Unlimited, so I don't have to lose at Yu-Gi-Oh anymore.
Okay, you can lose at something different. It's better to lose something different, or what?
Well, Yu-Gi-Oh, it changed. Like people complain about how much Star Wars changes. Like Yu-Gi-Oh, every time I show up, I don't know what the other guy's playing ever
Mm,
because there's like 10,000 cards.
okay.
I have to read every single card everybody played every time.
And that game, card box for the text is really small. For users.
Yes, it is, and they do not use keywords like magic, and so yeah, it's translated from Japanese, and so they're yeah. Whenever somebody complains about how much text on a Star Wars card, I'm like, I show them a Yu-Gi-Oh card, and like, there's like 3 times as much text on one of these things.
For sure. And I think there's like one card. I don't know the meta that well, but there's like one card that like they complain about, but they had like really small text, this like little tiny spot too.
Yeah.
So not great there. So you played Magic a little bit. A lot of people played Magic, played BattleTech. So has any of these other previous card games influenced your game design in Star Wars? Have you like taken something from BattleTech into Star Wars ish? Kind of.
Battletech doesn't work as well. There are Pokemon inspired cards, and maybe see if anybody figures it out. There are also Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings. Yeah, let's see. I've played quite a few games. Honestly, there's quite a few. My Little Pony was designed by people who worked at Decipher because even though it's My Little Pony, that you draw Battle Destiny in the
Interesting.
game, and the mechanics are very similar to Star Wars, and there's a Destiny number on it.
Hmm.
It's real easy to borrow from My Little Pony, honestly.
I'll have to take a look. I had no idea that game existed. Amazing.
Yeah, it's out of print now, but it was really funny that yeah, there's like the combo card. There's the Gift of the Mentor basically exists in this game, like all the buddy cards that draw to Battle Destiny.
Interesting. That's cool.
It's also Destiny 5. It's like a direct copy.
Wow. Okay. Can you name the card? Can we look it up? I'd love to see it.
There's look up the friendship cards, because they like, there's six ponies, and every one has like a pair as like a buddy card that draw when they're together they get to Battle Destiny.
Hmm.
Yeah, you can look in the premiere set, but if you read the text, there's like when it says flip an additional card, that's basically draw an extra Battle Destiny.
Okay. Um,
You can look that
all
up
right.
later.
All right. I'll have to look later. I don't know. Okay.
Thrones is more there's a few Thrones ideas, but yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh not so much. There's like, it doesn't function the same way. um, Magic, I know, because I don't know. I've played some Commander, but Magic does annoy me.
What
Just to timing, like anything that we're getting when there's timing problems, I'm like, I'm not playing this game. That's why I got Star Wars Unlimited. Okay, you take an action, there's no reaction to it. I'll do this. But when we start talking about the stack and everything, I'm like, no, I'm out.
for me, I hate graveyard recursion, and they're going heavy on graveyard recursion on their new sets all the time, and I just want to
Yep,
stop it.
that. Yeah. Yep. The fact that you can have infinite loops, I'm like, nope, I'm out. I'm sorry.
I gotcha. Um, okay. All right. So we kind of talked a little bit about your history. Maybe it's a good time to go to the decks. So let me.
Because I've played. These are my two main decks I play in retro because I've played at Worlds a number of retro game, tournaments at Worlds, and
So yeah, let me pull the first one. Okay, so this is the first ISB. So you played this. You played a retro tournament Worlds, is what you said with this one, or something similar.
yeah, I've played several. I've several retro, but I've always just played Hidden Base and ISB. It's really all I know how to play well in this format. Um, so the ISB, yeah, it's the way I do it. With Outer Rim Scouts, I like Den of Thieves. I don't have to worry about Asteroid Sanctuary. Also, there's no Vader in the deck. I think most people think that's weird, but then I don't have to worry about Uncontrollable Fury.
I guess
And
not.
also
Yeah,
Ozzel.
you have one Oslo. Yeah, yeah.
And
Oh
I
yeah,
do
yeah,
have,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
an
It
ISB
gets
agent.
yeah,
It's just
yeah. You're right. Yeah. Yeah, I was just gonna say you're right. This lost text rarely comes into play, but you're right. If they did react, you would be lost. So you don't have. I guess you don't use Vader, any Vader, so you don't have to worry about it. True. All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
I've killed Ozzel plenty of times with Spiral. And it's also got Barrett, who's one of my favorite. And it was also this deck is a very works around goo a lot. Because there's been plenty of times people play goo, and I'm like, well, I don't have any characters left that this affects. It's Emperor deploys for free. His council deploys super cheap with him. In open format, putting down Emperor Janus and Simalu is not that that strong, but it's pretty strong in this format.
Yeah.
Especially for basically he's free, and then your hope is opening handing Emperor and moving him over to the Coruscant docking bay. You're activating ton fees. There's no mob points counter. Then subsequent turns you throw down Simalu and Janus for what is it, 3 or 2 and 3, like super cheap, or 1 and 2,
Yeah. It'd
and
be
then
one. It'd be
Janus
one
just
and two at
cycles all
that
your.
point. So, yeah.
Yeah, and then the only other card you're probably getting Piet, hopefully quick, off your commands, and then the only other card that GoofX is Igar, and I just like him in this format for. I like Battle Destiny's added on characters, so it's just repeatable.
Understood. Yeah, yours is a bit different
So
because because rarely do we see people start like Imperial Square. Usually they start the planet system.
yeah,
So
I think that's a mistake.
you think you should start the
But
system,
yeah,
or
because
you think the system's a mistake?
that system is a mistake because of just the fact that throwing down the Emperor for free is so good. I mean, it is like, yes, then Blunt can just go to there, but it's a lot easier just to trample Blunt than having Blunt be on a starship.
Okay. You
I
do
would
have
much
two
rather Blunt
tramplers.
just be sitting out in the open. That's the undercover spy removal, and just because there's no counter that names trample. So then there's, and a lot of people, like, the only so many grabbers. Abyssian Ornament is a really good grabber bait. So
True.
if they grab that, and I've had people grab Projective Telepathy, and then you're like, it's fine, I'll just run command and trample all day. um yeah, I prefer used interrupt. Yeah, and so over the Sniper and the Force Lightning, I prefer just used interrupts. And Barrich and the other biker scouts aboard walkers are just so hard to deal with.
Yeah.
It is, those are lost.
Bless you. Bless you. Yeah, so you're using
Yeah.
three walkers. You're using generic Blizzard Walker here, which I don't see people use all that much. Is immune to attrition less than 4.
Igor adds a Battle Destiny on it.
Oh, because it's a non-unique AT-AT. I've never seen someone use
Yeah, that's
Blizzard
why.
Walk with Igar like that. You're right, it does work. Makes me wonder why did they never print a generic, ATS AT-AT for 10? I guess they're like, well, it exists for Hoth, so okay, interesting. Um,
Yep.
I guess my biggest concern usually is like the TRM decks like play Revolution sometimes. So, like if they get like a first turn
Sure.
Revolution, it
I mean, they're
sucks.
yeah, that is pretty terrible. It's you probably just lose. If Crush plus Vader Sense was in this format, I would do that.
You
But
can
your
oh
only real
oh oh
option is like
combo deck. Yeah.
floating.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah. The combo card doesn't exist.
I see.
So like I think you just kind of have to pray that they're not nobody's running Revolution. I mean, yeah, that card doesn't exist.
Yeah, yeah.
Great if it did.
Yeah. It does
But you know, I run
unfortunately.
invaders in a Premier Hoth deck, but um I don't think Revolution is just I haven't seen it in all the games I've played so far because I don't think unless you're playing Throne Room, it's not that great. Well, also there's a lot of Bringham and it does nothing against Bringham before me.
Yes, that's true. And yes, and Revolution's not good against, set your course for Alderaan, as
That
well.
too.
So
So and it does nothing against Rops. Pretty much. Like, I mean, he spins their 1/1 around, I guess, so you get their game text, but it
well, I mean, if like they had like a forest, I mean that would suck, right? If they had a Rob's forest and
yeah, but you doesn't actually even change. You're paying 3 and it's not even changing the force activation. So there's 3 out of the top deck. So I don't see Revolution that much. I'm
yeah,
yeah. So yeah,
yeah. Okay.
and also the Throne Room can't play at turn 1 anyway,
Well,
unless they're playing if they're
if
playing
they
the weird generic
if
sites.
if they do the nudge version, they could potentially, because the nudge version with the swamp and the forest, they could. Now the
And the
disadvantage,
opening hand one.
swamp and farm. Sorry, if they do the swamp and farm
Yeah.
version with careful planning, they could. And some people do that. Joe Horby, how we get in this mess? I mean, he played this. I mean, I'll say like that, like Brad Kipple, he got first place. He did have one
Mhm.
revolution. I've seen Dr. Torch. He played the other day. He played like a couple, like a hidden mains with like two revolutions. You are correct that it could fail. I think at the top levels, seeing a one of revolution is still possible. Now, maybe in the future,
Yeah.
if everyone starts playing Brandis, maybe we won't see revolutions very much anymore. That's certainly a possibility because it's a dead card, and if your opponent's
Yeah.
really skilled, they would do this. But I guess maybe fortunately, we don't have that many skilled players yet who play Brandis that much. Um, but yeah, no, I like the fact that you're doing something different than most of these ISB decks. You are starting with Imperial Square, and I'm guessing you're usually going to start what the trifecta: arrest order, mobilization points, oppressive, or usually doing.
Oppressive. Yeah, oppressive unless they're doing something that is obviously not sense and alter, then I'll do something else. You know, if they're going to be playing EBO, then I'm not gonna bother. Like, but almost always a oppressive enforcement.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty standard. And so for emperors, like, why do you
Yep.
want emperors so badly? I mean, I get he deploys for free. I get that's cool, but you're deploying him and then you're moving him basically.
Yeah, you're
Um,
paying one to up your activation by 3.
okay, I guess so. I guess. I mean, and what about things like Emperor Shuttle, right? I mean, if you get Emperor Shuttle, it's also for 0 effectively if you deploy the Emperor. Well, I guess it's 3.
Mm.
Yeah, it's 3. It's not quite the same.
Well, the other problem is there's so much X-wings cannons floating around.
Yeah.
And you're not winning the game by draining in space. You're just there in space to satisfy battle order, battle plan, and probe for hidden bases. You're gonna win by draining for 2 because ISB adds 2, to your force drains on the ground. So you're gonna win by your constant drains on the ground.
So as far as drains on the ground, you only have one. battleground sites that you are supplying. So
Yep.
you are hoping
Only
your
need two.
opponent does more.
Well, no, you have 15 spies in the deck,
Three, four, five, six. Yeah, I
something
mean,
like that.
yes.
Every ISB agent is a spy. I mean, if you're going to go to their non-battleground, I mean, unless it's hidden base, which then you're doing search and destroy.
Okay, but Barrick, he's not an ISB. Iroh's not an ISB.
Obrick is. So there's six. Avax is. Mergic is. I think there. I guess there's 10 spies. I mean, that should you're going to find a spy. Yeah, and you know, but for most times it's just you play your two battleground, and then if they're playing in base, you just if you're playing against profit, you're going to go to their sites,
Sure.
and that's probably you're just going to go to their sites and walker them and try and trample all their guys and make them sit in their one drain that you're going to cancel inside.
Yeah, no, I get that bit. Fondor I get because Fondor is helping you get Executor.
Yeah.
Core lag you don't see a whole lot. I mean, why core lag versus like, something like Solist, right? And like get like the drain of
Um.
two, things like that.
Well, it's a drain -1. I'm not assuming I'm gonna. If somebody cares about space, I'm not assuming I'm gonna win space. And executor can go to core like and back and forth, and you can get to Kifix from Coralog with
Uh,
executor.
um, you could get to Kifix if your opponent had a Kifix,
You
but
can't.
like you're not playing a Kifix, right? You're not playing Kifix.
No, hidden. Yeah, but that's a popular system usually for light side.
Yeah, no,
Used
it
to be if
is.
TRM was going to play one system, they'd play Kifix.
They could. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of TRM decks. They'll play like Kessel because they want to get there'll be the light side
Yeah,
Kessel.
so
The
you get
light
from
side
Fondor to
Kessel.
Kessel or Coralog to Kifix. You can get to either. You can't get to Coruscant, but that's not a big deal since you can your ISB agents reduce the drain there.
That is
You do have
true.
to use.
It would be a minus. Well, yeah. If you do den of thieves, you could cancel. It would be a -1 here. You don't.
Yeah,
You
-1.
Yeah. You don't have like decree. You don't have the
No,
throw decree. Is there a reason you don't want to
I'm
go for
assume.
too hard or
Well,
what?
because I don't know enough ships.
Yeah.
It's also I like to react to what my opponent is doing,
Mhm.
and so I don't like to you're gonna win by just you're draining. This is a lot faster than most people. It's ISB. You're trying to get. Yesterday I had a game. I was set up turn 2. Um, with the Emperor's Council, one docking bay and the Executor and 3 guys aboard it. Turn 2. So you want to be actually damaging people as soon as possible. You're not worried so much about controlling things.
Okay. So
Damage wins the game.
true. True, it does. Um, so you're able to do turn two, what, because you deployed what, Emperor here, you top
Emperor
decked it.
here, move over. Yeah, I top decked a nozzle and an Emperor. So Emperor went to that docking bay. Ozzel went to the Executor docking bay, and I was activating like 16 turn 2
Nice.
because they gave me a few sites. So then it's like, oh, Executive for 10. I think it was like Piet and Janice and move over and holding a command and stuff and saying, okay, what you gonna do about it? And then lose. But
That's cool. That's cool.
so because yeah, if you want ISB to set up hopefully and start damaging, hopefully by turn 3.
So so obviously, your plan is get Emperor and crew, help you hold down a site, right? So the +1 Battle
Mm-hmm.
Destiny. You only went for like one Simalu. Is the Simalu just not critical, or because you have Janice, you're like,
It's not
well, I
that big a
can.
deal. It's Janice is like working all game, and you have to have all the space for everything.
Sure.
It's like, yeah, I would pick another similar, like, or a fifth emperor if like I had more slots, but there's no shields. So I'm playing how many effects? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. There's like 12 effects because you just have to.
Yeah, yeah, you want to have some defenses. I mean, I do like the fact you play battle order. You don't have first. I mean, battle order will help you against profit. That's for sure. And I'm guessing, you kind of went with the troopers here. You have four of these as kind of
Mhm.
your, like you're kind of like win card to like clear a site basically. And because they pass by
I
Goonie
roll
attack.
and Dresselin. Yeah,
Yeah.
I roll and Dresselin at a Battle Destiny. Barrich is broken, and Obrick is an ISB agent.
Okay. Why would you say it's broken? What one destiny to reduce
When
attrition
you
power?
draw a barrack or emperor off a barrack, and because all your walkers are immune to less than 4, it's real hard in this format to get to 10 attrition through a trample and everything.
Hmm.
And then even
Okay.
if you do, usually then like, oh, evacs forfeits for 7, or you forfeit the, like you forfeit a huge forfeit. Like that's a lot to chew through.
I see. And are you? I mean, is your game plan to just not deploy these naked to a site, like hold back one AT-AT, and then like just deploy that against like maybe like a lone Luke, or maybe like a
Depends.
Luke. Okay,
It depends on what they're doing. It can be totally naked to a site if there's like 3 of them and 2 outer rim scouts, because at that point, like it's in this format they only have like 1 or 2 mains, or you wait, or people like to just deploy their stuff early, and once they've deployed, they only have so many personas. Once
sure.
Obi-Wan and Luke are somewhere, then you're like, whatever, it doesn't
Yeah. I mean,
it doesn't matter.
okay. Um, yeah. So, and are these like mostly a one shot? Because you don't have Karita in this deck. Like some decks like using Karita for retrieving a trooper into hand. So like if Barrack or Iroh, whatever, Dresselin died, you get him back. You don't have Karita here, so
Nope.
your ability to guarantee they're in one battle is not 100%. You don't you don't
It's
have
just you draw so many cards, you activate so much faster using Emperor plus mob points. And you throw Janice in there. Actually, it's a problem with like activating too much force.
okay. Um, and you don't have like blast door controls. So if they're running a barrier deck,
Some
yeah,
It's not that big a deal because usually I'm setting up first anyway.
okay. So basically, typical plan is you'll get the Emperor to a docking bay.
Yep.
I'm guessing you prefer Cloud City,
Yeah,
because
you
I
go
mean,
there with
is there a reason you didn't go
the other
Death
one
Star docking
goes.
bay? Go ahead, like because you could have gone Death
Oh,
Star, right? You could have like two mobile sites, and you could have, if you went Death Star docking bay, you'd be immune to Lost in the Wilderness, which is a thing in retro formats,
yeah.
kind of thing.
Well, because I want to. Well, you're pretty much immune because most of you guys are going to be in a walker anyway. Um, but the spaceport docking bay is for profit because you make all your drains -1 at related sites, so you want to be able to move around.
Uh-huh.
So
Um,
because profit probably playing the Tatooine, but I don't want to rely on that.
okay.
The other thing is you want to play the generic docking bay. There's no downside in this one, and also if they play Kessel or some big drain system, your ISB agents reduce drains at systems.
True. You're right. I forgot about that. So yeah, even if they have a pet system other than ones you put here, or even if they went to like your Fondor or
That
something, then
I've put it at Coralag before and made it drain 0. It happens.
yeah. No, that's a good point. That is an advantage more than worrying about loss and winners. That's extremely true. So good point.
Not
So
too worried about Lost in the Wilderness. I mean, if a stack of guys, you make one outer rim scout go missing, I'll just find them again. It's not that exciting.
Oh, they are scouts. That's true, right? And you will find
They're
some
all scouts.
catches. Yeah, you get a plus
Yeah,
two.
I'm
Yeah,
playing 10 scouts. Like, it's not Lost in the Wilderness is not.
true,
I don't care that bad.
true. Um, Interesting thing, of course, you have Executor and you have one copy of something special planned for
Yep.
them. I guess that's sufficient.
That
You know.
that
Um,
that something special is for the edge cards.
yeah.
It's not so much for the +2. It's about the edge cards.
Okay.
So they just can't loop them infinitely.
True. Makes sense here. And so what usually you find you can protect one system, one battleground site,
Yep.
and you'll be, I'm guessing you're holding back your,
Beat
excuse me.
down the IGAR beat down squad until they do something.
Right,
Usually.
right. And I
Because
notice
IGAR is pulled by Piet.
he is, although most people are pulling Marajek. Um, are you?
It
Oh,
is sometimes you have to do that, but there's been quite a few games where I haven't had to.
okay.
If you opening hand Fondor or they give you a bunch of systems, it's yeah, with mob points and hidden base just throw and light side decks just throwing out battlegrounds. I mean, there's been plenty of times I've deployed executor for 15 and whatever.
I like that. I like that. Uh, Unless you're playing like a traditional TRM deck. TRMs are usually
Yeah,
very
I
low to give
haven't
you.
seen that yet. I
Okay.
don't think it's very popular.
TRM is very popular. We had tons of
Yeah.
TRM decks in the top eight in
All
retro
right.
in 2024. Yeah. Um, but no, on the low levels, maybe not as much. But yeah, top levels, no, absolutely, you'll see more of those. But as far as game plan, you have battle order, so I'm guessing you are trying to control a battleground system, ground on site, have battle order as
Yep.
quickly as possible. And in your back pocket, you have like an IGAR and another AT-AT, or in your back pocket you have like the three troopers, and you're willing to
Some
beat them.
Agar, and some troopers, and just yeah. Yep. Because you can't swing lightsabers at them, and the tramples, like, if you remove Chewie or Han from a light side mains deck, it really hurts.
Yeah, no, I
EPP
guess,
Han.
yeah, well, yeah, I guess you're right. On with,
It's
yeah,
yeah.
they'll be more likely to be on the ground, sure.
Yep.
Yeah, and I guess your Imperial Command, if they're using Captain Han, that would help reduce that sum. That seems to be one of the main weapons people use to try to defend against kind of Leia Han Falcon combo. So you have a bunch
Yeah,
of them.
they have to sense it. Um yeah, they have to sense the command. But you do have a ton of forfeit.
Um, you do if you have evex, right? I mean these
Merjek
guys
is well, Ozzel's a 6, Merjek's a 6, Evex is a 7, Piet is a 6. So, and they only get it off once.
hopefully, hopefully, or I know or
Well, because you
whatever.
just move away, so then
Yeah, you kind of
then you
have
could just
to.
Den of Thieves it. Yeah, so you don't. They only get one shot at it.
Yeah, and I noticed like of course like there's things like there's no like there's like I've lost R2, like if you have a super home one, so you kind of have to win or be able to run away. You do have the point man to try to get rid of order to engage, which is a thing here.
Yep.
You are trying to defend against that. There is like the what is it, lose one force, troopers. Um, it is, what is that? This
Tactical
one.
support.
Yeah,
It's not my
tactical support.
favorite. I don't like that card.
You don't like that card. Why not? Because you would get the
Not even
combo.
open. Um, because I don't like cards where you better draw in the first two turns or they're pretty dead. All the cards I'm running, I'm happy to see no matter what point of the game it is. Tactical support's value each turn drops drastically.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You have only 4 troopers here, so
Yeah, it's not that kind of deck.
okay. All right. Yeah, and I guess you don't mind drawing another emperor because you hopefully
I
Janice can
just
get us.
Janus it.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna
Janice it down.
Janus it.
Yeah,
Those are your sixes. Hopefully, you get one, and then you Janus the rest of them. And those are your sixes.
that's cool. All right. Yeah, I see you have a monarch here. That's good. Anti-hidden base X-wings that they played, or just they discard.
It's I think I got 6 cards last time I played Hidden Base X Wings.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of game. If you pull just wreck their hand like that, that's pretty much the game.
Yeah. No, agreed there. All right. Well, cool. Well, I'd love to see this deck in play. Um, any other things to mindful of? I mean, you have God Herd in case they use kind of the the landing
Landing claw.
claw.
It's the landing claw.
Um, you do have there is no try to punish them for
Sense
sense
alter.
alter. Yeah. So if you starting against a tier M where you fight facing a deck you expect to have sense alter, maybe you would do that instead of the press enforcement. Only one grabber. Um, you know.
It's
So
really for out of commission
okay. All right.
because you don't want them placing your outer rim scouts out of play. Because you
Yeah.
want to battle and retrieve with them and just keep looping them.
Yeah.
Because when you're at the point of the game where you've gone, used up your whole deck on your turn and you retrieve the outer rim scout as your last thing on your draw phase, you recirculate, then you just get it back with Janice, goes on Deneth Thieves in a way. You want to have battles where they die, but you don't want to be hit by out of commission.
True. That will disrupt your retrieval loop. I understand. Makes sense. Yeah, cool. No, yeah, no, I think the rest is fairly standard, but no, I love the fact that you have a lot of emperors. You start a site, that other people don't. You don't have the Moff here, right? I guess it's hard. I mean, you could have put Tarkin in here, but I guess if you put Tarkin, you want to put Vader, but then if you put Tarkin here, you're not canceling battle destination
That's kind of
zone.
useless. If
Yeah.
see, there's no Moff Gideon. Like if you had a Moff Gideon in this format, sure, I would do that. But you don't. So there's only one Moff, and why is he? There's a Tarkin that's an ISB agent. I don't know if he counts as a Moff though. I don't think he does. There's just Tarkin, the 2-player or whatever he is, just Tarkin,
Yeah, you're right. You could
and
use
he's
this
also
to.
terrible.
Yeah,
I
he
don't
is.
think he counts as a Moff because he's Imperial Governor. I don't think
Oh,
he
you're right. It
counts.
doesn't say he's a Moff. He's a leader, but it doesn't say he's a Moff. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and he's just also just terrible. So
Yeah, no, he has no game text, and he costs as much as the one with game text. So
and 6 forfeit. Yeah, he's just terrible. So
yeah,
he's unplayable.
yeah. Okay,
No, and it's not. And with mob points, you get so much activation. It doesn't matter that much.
yeah.
The deploy -1 is not that big a deal.
Cool. Yeah, you have search and destroy, so you have some ability to punish them for not playing, something to the ground, which you could then beat down supposedly. Um, I guess the
There
only
is
thing
also it's funny that Jedi Luke, Destiny 6 Jedi Luke, does not turn off search and destroy. People forget about that.
yeah, no, that's true. I guess the only thing that makes me nervous is though your ability to fight a Jedi Luke. The only way you really can clear a side of Jedi Luke is if you get like your troopers
I
there.
have
Yeah.
multiple ways of drawing multiple battle destinies, and tracking or just tracking a 6 is not that hard.
Okay. Well, I guess as long as he's not alone with the saber, I guess that would work. Otherwise, you need to
That
have an eye guard there.
y-
Or
well, even if he's alone with his saber against two, and then he's like, "Well, I have 2 walkers, and you're going to get crushed by power." You know, it hasn't been a problem so far.
okay, cool. All right. Any last thoughts for people wanting to try your version of ISB? Um,
Um, I Masterful Move is a good card, but it's just that you only have so many card slots. Um,
yeah.
Barrier is a good card, but again, only so many card slots. A lot of people are playing more than one point man, more than one projective telepathy. It just, yeah, I don't know what I would take out for it.
Okay. Yeah, you have
Maybe secret plans, but yeah.
could be. You have these together. I mean, something
But
like
it's
coward.
it's also yeah, coward wouldn't be a bad card. Uh, resistance wouldn't be a bad card either. Um, because just for your if there's you know the anger, fear, and aggressions, because you can beat it in 3 battlegrounds pretty easily.
Yeah.
But again, now you're like you can only have so many effects, and those coward and resistance seem to come up less often than the other ones.
Okay.
Because I mean, you could technically do resistance instead of insight, for if they're playing a numbers deck, but it is just yeah. I mean, that's just says I'm not going to lose the numbers.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you have the defense, and of course you could drop can hide forever to get battle order if you wanted to as well, or something special planned for them. So um
It's
that
actually for search and destroy. It's also
oh, and search and
for
destroy.
to get search and destroy hidden, because all the other ones you can start, but against hidden base you can go get it fast.
True.
Security precautions is a good card, but it's only for against one deck, and the +1 activation isn't that important.
True.
And it and honestly, if I knew we were playing in base, I'd probably play more monarchs and even anyway.
Yeah, if you need to plan hidden base X-wings or something like that. I mean, there are a lot of like squadron assignments ones that don't you know
Yeah, but
play generic ones.
Hmm.
But yeah, if I knew we were playing the generic classic Johnny Chu X-wings, something like that, then yeah, for sure, Monarch. That's definitely friend. Two Monarchs would be great, no doubt about
Yep.
that. Cool. All right. Well, let's go on to kind of your hidden base. So I like this one too because this one is different. You are trying to use Nebula MB frigates. You're trying to use capital starships, and you are
Yep.
trying to hit things. It's
Oh, does it ever hit things?
I love it. I love it. So
Many
maybe
a dead executor.
yeah, no,
No,
yeah,
the whole reason for this is on target. Because if you're playing hidden base, um, you either you can this happens is if they have multiple ships, you wait until the last one hasn't moved away, and then you pin it. And because it just happened the other day, they had a Boba Fett and a Zuckuss, and Boba Fett moved away, and Zuckuss gets pinned and can't draw Battle Destiny.
I love it. And I and
Uh,
it,
so
yeah,
So that on target is all reason to do this. You hit every once you get a gunner or two. Um, I've drawn a 17 for weapon destiny against the executor. I mean, in total, but it's like it's not you're gonna hit them. Especially with the admiral's order, they're only an 8. Um, like a Jansen, a Kincaid, like I've had them together, and then you add like 10 when you draw 2 destiny versus 8. It's just yeah, you get some gunners on there. And you've got 7s floating in the deck. You're going to yeah, you're gonna hit them.
So I guess the question. So yeah. So executor's armor 12. I mean, I think the objective. Would you say the objective is the biggest version because may reduce the value of by 4 for remainder of battle, right? You know
Yep.
that's that's huge. It's unfortunately it's capital starships only, but yeah. So
But every
this
starfighter is like once you get a gunner or two on there, it also doesn't matter. And also, stay sharp is a broken card if they don't have a sense it.
um and just so people understanding, so the gunner, the only way you know someone's a gunner is if they have the text. So he says gunner,
Yeah.
she says
She
gunner,
says gunner.
he
She says
says
gunner.
does he say yeah, yeah, they have
Last
to say
time.
gunner. So
And he's a gunner.
obviously, yeah, he's a pilot, she's a pilot. They're not great. I mean, he's probably the worst of them. He's
It
not a
doesn't
pilot,
matter.
go ahead.
The piloting doesn't matter. The power usually doesn't matter because you're just shooting everything anyway.
Okay, and so the minimum cards to shoot executor, I mean, obviously, okay, stay sharp. Stay sharp is control phase. You have, but you don't have like you don't have like that one card which adds 4. You just have like the control version.
Because it doesn't come up. It honestly doesn't come up that much. Honestly, if all you have is the Admiral's order, all you need to do is draw a 5 and a 4. Yeah, because your destiny's high enough that never comes up. And it's then sticking a 3 in your deck. If you have Kin Kane and the Admiral's order, like, or say any gunner and the Admiral's order,
Okay.
you are now you're basically swinging a lightsaber because then all you need is a 7, I think, with two. Yeah, no, so they're an 8.
Yeah.
You're basically shooting 2 destinies with a +1. I guess you need an 8 because instead of subtracting 1, you're adding 1 if you have any gunner.
Yes. Yeah.
So
So
now
you
you
need.
just need a pair of 4s or a 7 in anything.
Okay. Hmm.
So yeah, it's especially if you retrieve the 7 of the Bargain and then activate to it, you're gonna hit it.
So when it comes down to starting, right? So I'm guessing
Yep.
you have Frigate. So you I mean you have do or do not. You have wise advice, and then you could do but why do you have insurrection just because you really want to forfeit your pilots? Like what's your typical starting?
Sometimes it's just because so superficial. Um, then it's yeah, wise advice and almost always battle plan. It's the insurrection is only there because in case you need to forfeit like Jansen for 7 and then retrieve him with Finger and Dan or something. It's not. It's probably could be another. It's a hit. It's not that important. Because it's a hit is kind of how you beat Rops. Is hopefully you get him to grab something else, and then you just cycle it's a hits on them with their your 2 projection.
Yeah, and I mean you don't have because I mean Rops typically runs 4 sites. There are some 5 site versions. I mean you don't have a Bausch,
I've never seen
right?
a 5 site one.
I've seen a
No,
5 site
because
one too. You have a TK422, right?
I don't like any situation where they actually break their cover, and now I just lose the game.
They can't. Well, there's only one dark side car that no one plays that can break their cover, and you have to like roll the same destiny. It
Oh,
is
Lieutenant Pole, I do that all the time to people in Mirror through Hoth. So,
really
yep.
okay. Well, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I've seen no top 8 decks that run this guy in PDS2 format. I mean,
Okay. Well, he's
yes,
an ISB agent.
uh, Rebels. Okay, he is a agent, but you don't run him. You don't run him in your
Yeah,
deck.
because I just trample him, but I have run him before.
Okay,
So anyway, so it's just also there. If you notice, they're Destiny ones,
they are Destiny ones. True. Yes.
and your whole objective is to shoot things down. And you still have the hidden base like kill 2 drains until they put some things in space. Like that's the whole point.
Yeah,
So the problem is they're not what I'm trying to do, and they're Destiny ones.
I guess so. I guess my biggest fear is surviving until then, or like sometimes one. But I mean, I understand. I mean, you have a control here. I mean, you can
Well,
get.
that's also for the senses, but honestly, the Bargwins and once you get Bargwins and Figure and Dan just working, it it's hard to like because you can Bargwin on both players' turns.
Okay. Um.
The other
So
thing is you can lose your turbo late if you find weapons display, you can just lose them and then redeploy them.
you can, and then hopefully they battle you again, so you can lose them again, depending.
Yep.
Um.
Yep.
So yeah, and so system choice. Okay, so Chandrila makes sense. Occupied capital starship, so you
Yep.
get +2, so help you a little bit there. Otherwise, okay, Kessel I get, Kifix I get.
You drain a Kessel and Kifix to beat Robs.
Right. You don't have like a chorus on here. Of
No,
course.
because if you notice, the droid, if you put the droid on a ship, he can move from Kessel to Kifix. Because you'll usually have one loaded up Nebulan B.
Hmm.
Yeah, you can't go from Kessel to Coruscant.
Not in one go. No, you could move from a different
Well, you
ship.
want to go in one go. Yeah, because you want to go to wherever they are and on target them.
Okay. All
That's the
right.
point. You don't want to have people running around. You deploy a ship, well, it's gonna die.
Okay. All right. And I mean, like you don't have like Liberty. You don't have Home One. Is that just because they're just too
Those are
expensive? And you,
expensive and not important.
I mean, I guess the biggest
For
thing
one,
is they have
especially in
immunity,
base doesn't work.
nutrition, but I
It
guess it
the
doesn't.
immunity doesn't matter because you're just gonna forfeit all your guns used anyway.
Well, you can forfeit one gun per ship. So are you usually trying to do two ships in your battles? So you can
I
forfeit
try
two
and put
weapons?
4 ships and really overpower. Like I overpowered Zuckus for 20. That's how you win the game.
Okay.
Because
Um,
each gun also adds to the power of each ship.
uh, well, these ones do. Yes, that's true.
Yeah,
They
those ones
also
do.
yeah, these also cost 4 force. But how do you,
That they don't.
but well, if you get this
Nebula.
guy,
No, no, Nebulan B. Read the Nebulan.
turbo laser and laser cannons, turbo laser battery deploy for free. Okay. Well, I didn't read it. Okay, you're right. So that makes a huge difference. Man, so a home one person's, paying 16 for this, or maybe 10 if they go to a thing, but you're playing five.
Paying
Okay.
5, sometimes 3 because you play at the point and then it moves to Endor for free.
Okay. I definitely see the attractiveness of this. So are you typically fine like because this says subtract 6 when you're targeting a non-capital starship. So you're
Yep.
talking how often are you able actually like to hit like okay Zuckus okay you only like how often are you able to hit like a Zuckus versus like maybe a Boba um in spacing.
If you get 2 gunners on it, you're hitting everything.
And you
Especially if you even if you just put Wedge and Jansen on there, it's +3 to both Destiny. Jansen erases the minus, and now it's like swinging a lightsaber.
yeah okay yeah for rogue fear with wedge reject so basically you have two wedges mostly because he combos with Jansen
With
he
and
combos with Kian too.
the
Yeah,
then the other one, the gal's a rogues. I forget her
yeah,
name. She's a rogue
true,
squadron pilot also.
true, yeah, you don't usually see her used. That's cool though, I like it. Did you ever try you doing Gray Squadron 2 or just I guess it's too many cards
No, there's
because
no point. It's the whole point is to play Nebulan Bees and shoot everything down.
yeah. And your Ishi Tib, this is what just to do tracking to get
He's
your six.
poor. He's a poor man 3PO.
Yeah, 3PO
He
was from
just sits
Tatooine.
on a ship.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's just a poor man's. Yeah, because he cycles those intruder missiles, or your Jedi Luke, or your extra Admiral's orders. So he's just in there for Brigham.
how does he help against Bring 'Em Before Me?
No,
Or
no,
you?
the Jedi Luke is just in there for
Oh,
bring him.
okay, gotcha,
The only time he ever gets deployed is to bring him.
gotcha. Okay. Um, I guess so battle plan. I mean, this hurts you as well. I mean, you don't have a battleground site. This is not really a deck that's designed to fight the ground. Is this just like an
Nope.
anti-ROPS card because you can beat them in
Yep.
space kind of thing?
Yep, because you play in the very beginning, and they're like, "Oh, they just don't get their free drains of one, so are they going to pay three to drain one?" Basically it's a way of saying you got to put some guys in space. Okay, well now I'm going to shoot them all down because sometimes you can kill all their ships and then flip.
Yeah, and then basically they're locked out of the game. That's true.
Yep,
Um,
that is
Actually,
what you
that's a
do.
good point. That's a good point. Unless they can find your hidden base. Have you ever thought about, because I've seen one player do this basically. So you have two stay sharps. Um,
Yep.
you have places like you have two. You have Alderaan and you have I figured it's Clackdoor. Yeah, I think it's Clackdoor 7. So if you put a hidden base to Alderaan and Clackdoor, very few decks ever run Visage, right? Visage is this one
Yep.
the only dark side card by 10 to 4. It can go anywhere except Rendezvous Point. In order basically to find the hidden base on Clackdoor or Alderaan, you have to move there. But what if you
Yep.
had like a Nebula and B Fragate like it, let's say Clackdoor, and you had a stay sharp in your hand? I think you could have a decent chance of shooting down, other than the fact of, I guess you couldn't use taking them with us. Have you ever thought about kind of doing that combo
Well,
or
the
no?
problem with doing that is you're telegraphing. Or I guess you could be cheeky and then not put your hidden base there, but you are kind of telegraphing what you're doing. And also then you're putting a ship and a gun somewhere where it's not doing anything. I mean, you could, but because I'd rather even so, like at least because you have so much force to you can just ping drain for ones, and now you're like not, and you have to have that stay sharp or it's useless or this whole it's like that's a lot of things have to go right.
It is. You do have to have stay sharp. It is there. I mean, I think the biggest danger is if they were trying to like hunt with their Star Destroyer. One thing I will say about this is
Yeah.
you are doing the kind of the time tested strategy of like not giving your opponent kind of an avenue to get that. So like if someone deployed Executor Kifex, they could probe Kifex, they could probe Chandrila. Actually, never mind. Never mind. I guess. Well, you have sevens. You don't have a six, so
No,
they couldn't get to Tatooine or Sullust or Endor. I guess is how it would be.
that's kind of that is by design that there's if you go low and it's high or with the executor then you're stuck.
Yeah, yeah. But I think any other dark side ship other than Executor, you should be able to hit them with Stay Sharp. You know.
Well, it's also the problem is you better have a gick if you've just got Zuckus floating around because he's gonna get like walloped.
uh, yeah.
It's just on target is just so is a broken card.
What? Okay, but this is still legal and open, right? Or is there something that
Yep.
kills this? Like, are there more counter cards? I guess I could look it up here.
Well, the there are counter cards, or you can sense it. The reason why on target is not a big deal in open is there's a lot of more dark side decks that can just easily do damage while you're setting up some ships and guns. And hidden base is just far too slow in modern and open.
Okay. Okay.
It's just it's just way too easy for the dark side to set up Vader and a saber at some drain 2 site before you can even catch your breath with hidden base and open. So it just did. I mean, I want okay. There, I will say is possible in a match play scenario because in the Champions League, it was a league where after every time you played a deck, you couldn't play it again. it was like a series, like a the match play, like you were going up, but once you played a deck, you couldn't play it again. And based on all the decks somebody had played, I knew they were going to play Eops, and so I played basically this deck in open, and yeah, walloped them because I knew they were playing Eops.
Hmm. And
Well, the other
in
thing,
yeah, yeah.
the other thing is search and destroy in space exists in open. It's like that's actually it's called it's on automatic pilot for light side. Hidden base in uh open is all about Republic ships.
Okay,
That's a Republic icon. So it's there no their hidden base is played in open, but it's always played with Republic ships
I see.
because you can do search and destroy in space.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I saw someone play, and and now I see why they chose the Republic ship because I wasn't paying attention to this effect. So yeah,
Yep.
makes sense. Okay. No, no. Back to your central point. No, no. On target surely is really good. You don't see people using it on the light side very much. You don't see the dark side version that much unless you're doing like a tractor beam deck. But yeah, no. If you shut down their pilots, go ahead.
Yeah, but the problem with tractor beams and all of that stuff is so many light side decks, you're going to run into profit and just half your deck is useless. That's why tractor beams not as big an issue, just because if you devote your whole deck to it and then they play something like a TRM with lightsabers or profit, you're like, well, half my deck is just kind of useless.
Yeah, I mean, it just becomes a drain race, effectively.
Yep.
Or if they use like the Mon Calamar Star Cruiser, the one thing you can't use tractor beam more explicitly.
Yep. On the most popular ship, that's why I get away with Nebula and B frigates usually in this format, is because there are no tractor beams, because everybody just expects someone.
True. No, no, I really like it. So yeah, so you have two Bargwins, Figrin Dan, Ishitib, you have a couple projections of Skywalker, and I guess you have a bunch of threes from heavy turbo laser battery, but I guess you make up for it because intruder missiles can go
There's a lot of
on.
sevens and a lot of five. They can't go on anything. They go on. They're just there to be retrieved by Bargowins and Ishitibs.
I see. Okay.
These could be Ewok catapults, but you could put. I mean, when you put B wings or YT 130 1300 transfer, it just kind of dilutes the deck, and
I
it
guess
doesn't
I'm yeah,
mean that
I
much.
guess I'm wondering from like a Monic standpoint, like why not, switch out one with the Ewok catapult and one with like bionic hand. That way you don't risk like having two in your hand and just.
You could. It's not that it's not that important. Yeah, I guess it was just more of a I don't know, just finding the cards, but you could switch them all out to different sevens that are easily retrievable. The other thing is you could put some quad laser cannons if you're really concerned about starfighters, but it's not. It usually just doesn't come up that much because they also deploy for free on Nebula B frigates.
They deploy for free. They don't shoot for free, so you're still having to keep two force at all
Yep.
times, basically, with this deck. And this one, you'd have to keep one force if you use this one.
Varric helps.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah, that he would definitely help. But too bad there's only one of him.
Yeah, you could go with two, but it's just like finding space for everything.
Yeah, no, for sure. So how does this deck tend to perform? Against kind of the meta. You know, I know.
I don't know them in live events. Usually people just quit after the executor gets shot down. But yeah, I don't know. Uh, yeah, I've shot down quite a few ships, but I don't know how. Yeah, against Rop. I mean, there's a game plan for Rops and Court and bring them, but I don't know how it's going to go too much because I've only played live events, and yeah,
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the big I mean obviously I think ROPS is just a beast in PDS2. So I think you do have some ROPS protection. I think if they wanted a turtle, they could hurt you because you really only have like one main here that could somewhat
He
stand.
only is for Brigham. I would never like deploy. So it's basically like I'm in a projection 2 sites, try and get you to grab something so I can loop. It's a hit. Like, and then also there's the hidden main drain. Like, I technically cancel, like, pretty much negate a ton of damage and then retrieve a bunch. So you've got to go to space and we got to fight it out there.
Um, are you able to loop? I guess the question is do you keep like some turbo laser batteries in reserve just because you want to lose them? I mean, you have two Baragwins. So I'm assuming you're trying to keep them alive, and you're right. You could mitigate
Yep.
this. You could lose like one of these to like a search and destroy, something like that. Help like
Yep.
help me understand like the card management aspect of like how many you deploy versus hold back just for bear gwins and whatnot.
Oh, once you get two, or actually you see, and then you see rapid fire
Yeah,
like exists.
yeah.
So once you get two out floating around, then all the rest of them can just like lose to force drains and weapons display or barrack wins, and then like that's what the hyperscape and the rapid fires are for. Like there's a lot of somebody deploys in front of one of them, attacks, and rapid fire happens, and then they get shot. Hit and Run is a good card too. It's just it hasn't come up. It's not People's Space isn't as good in this format as it is in open, so it doesn't come up as much.
Yeah, I think the biggest reason to use hit and run is just because you're afraid they're going to run the hyper escape counters. I think that's the biggest
Yeah.
reason. But there's no
Yeah.
direct counter to hit and run other than sense
Nope.
if they have it,
Yep.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
No, I really like this deck. Yeah, teacher fought me, and I guess maybe it was a copy. Maybe teacher fought you at one point, and he copied your deck. Do you know the origin of this deck? Is like this wholly from you, or how did this get started here?
Uh I adapted it for I don't think I based on anybody else's. It's because back after the reset, I played a bunch of hidden base acclimators, which is very similar to Nebula and B frigates. And then that's what I know. And then when I had to play retro formats, well, I already know how to if you I know how to play acclimators, which are very similar to Nebula and B, so I'll just do dap most of it and then no shields. So most of the card choices are exactly the same. It's just acclimators are Republic ships, and they use quad laser cannons.
They still exist?
Yep. Oh yeah, they're still a thing. It's still a thing. Just ACC. There you go. First ship.
I say okay. Okay, concussion missiles,
They use
maybe.
missiles. Yeah, they use concussion missiles instead of but it's much easier to hit starfighters with them.
Yeah, cool, awesome. I really love it. Well,
Concussion missiles also fire for free. So yeah, that I just adapted my acclimator deck to this format. So I don't know if this has ever been a thing, but
there's like one guy. I'm curious. He has like deploy -1 unique starship. He's this guy, Misan. Did you ever think about trying to use Misan? Because he can make an executor with
the
a ton of
only
guys. Go away. Go ahead.
time he matters is if you miss. He's really good, but the problem is you basically now have to start playing the Falcon and squadron assignments, and he has no puller. You have to just find him.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is. Well, and also then you also have to
Well,
break the
it says he has to
executors
be a star.
forfeit.
He has to be a star fighter. I mean, he wouldn't work by default, but you have to do a different
Nope,
ship to make him work. Unfortunately.
and it has to be unique. So really, I mean,
Well,
it says
well,
put
it
me on the
doesn't have to be unique.
Falcon.
I mean, he deploys -1 if it's
Yeah,
unique, but it doesn't have to be.
well, I guess so.
Yeah,
But I mean, I guess you could put him in a B-wing bomber or something. But
yeah, you could. I mean, he could
there's
go on the
one that you could
Falcon.
replace the B-wing. But
Yeah,
yeah, I'm trying like a non-unique Y-wing. I guess I don't know.
he
But
could.
yeah,
Yeah,
but it really, C screams put me on the Falcon with Han with the concussion missiles.
yeah, most likely. But yeah, and he's used with what's it called? Like immunity to nutrition.
It's direct assault.
Direct Assault. Yes, you know the name. Yeah, Direct Assault. Yeah, good job.
It's because you could play this in that, but your plan is to just hit everything.
And I
That's an entirely different thing, and also you can't on target with a Falcon.
no, you cannot because Falcon's not a capital starship. So basically you're not using direct assault because you're really just trying to hit them, and if you get your gunner aboard, you probably are going to hit them. It's kind of your
Yep.
philosophy here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. No, I really like the deck. No, thank you for sharing because I've been looking for something different in base. In base is one of the most flexible objectives, so many different ways to play it, and it's nice when someone is able to play something other than just the standard X-wings,
Yep.
or squadron assignments. So this is definitely different. I really love to see how this deck performs. Um, you know, but no, I really love it. And any final thoughts to people that want to
Um,
try to pilot a version of this deck similar to yours? Any other things that?
it's just hit things. I mean, it's not actually pretty easy. That's why I came up with it.
Yeah, no, I really like it. Cool. All right. Well, um, thank you, Ryan. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for the trip down memory lane and some insight into kind of a little bit of the design process. And I think people really enjoy it. So
Right.
thanks so much, sir.
Thank you. Okay, bye.
Take care. Bye.